Is that better, Donna? Much better. Much better. Yes. That's why you need a wife. All right. Can we just bow our heads? Heavenly Father, just thank you for this day. Thank you for Governor House of Prayer. Thank you for your anointing. Thank you for your goodness and mercy. I ask that you would be with me today. Give me the words to say. Amen. The title of my message today is blessings. I'll just say it again, blessings. Blessings. And we'll just get that straight real quick. And what's the purpose of a blessing? What are the purposes of a blessing? What does blessing mean? And how does it affect us? So when I look at blessings, blessings will distinguish. You can determine sometimes a group of people or a person just because if they're blessed. So blessings are there to, they will distinguish, they will separate, they will set you apart. So there's a group that are blessed, and then there's that other group that is not blessed. So you can tell the difference. A lot of times, if the blessings have fallen upon a person, a family, a group, or even a church. I remember in my family's, I want to thank the church for really helping out for the funeral. It was just, as people said, it really moves me, and it really moved me. Bethel came through us. We just have a remnant here. But that remnant came through on that Saturday for my mom and for our family. I just wanted to say thank you, but I remember in my life when I was young, we were not rich, we were poor. We were blessed, but we were poor in Oakdale Gardens. I never lived when I was a child, we never had a home. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 bath, 1 kitchen. A lot of times in the wintertime, we used that stove to turn on. I don't know if you know about that now. We used to have to use Yes. I remember placing my feet on the stove door. Pull the stove door down, put my feet on to get warm. And sometimes we didn't have food, but we had enough. For some reason, my mother was able to create food out of it seemed to be nothing. I just said, wow. But there was always something there. That's why I attribute for my mother. The funeral, that was so powerful. Because she worked with her hands in the kitchen. My goodness. To provide meals for her sons. That was very powerful. Yes, that was a blessing, yes. But I compare that time to now. And that's how you can kind of distinguish things, where God's blessings make a difference in our house. Not our house, but our household, our family. It was the blessings of God. The blessings of God that distinguished me, my family, my children, was nothing but the blessings of God. And I want to say this, those blessings started at Bethel House of Prayer. That's where I learned how to obtain the blessing. That's why I'm still here, because I know where my help comes from. I know where my help started. And even though we have a remnant here, I still know where my help coming from. That's why we still walk through those doors. I remember when I was in Oakdale Gardens, and Brother Lewis would would come there in that bus. Why did he go to Oakville? I don't know. But I'm so glad he did. You know, I'm 62. I've been in Bethel for 62 years. You know, medical school, a few more times. But I will say Bethel has blessed me. It doesn't matter if we have 1,000 or we just have 3 or 4. I have to be here because I remember. I remember. So, blessings. Let me just read the scriptures in Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 to 4. I'm reading a lot of scriptures. Ladies, what I'll do is just go through this real quick. Genesis chapter 12. You know, I want to try to read this in the Message version if I can. God told Abraham, leave your country, your family, your father's home, for a land that I will show you, and I'll make you great and bless you. And I believe this is the Abrahamic covenant. Is that right? If I remember anything from prayer meeting or Sunday school, I believe he said this is one of the unconditional. In other words, you don't have to really do too much for the blessings to fall. You know, conditional ones are good, but the unconditional ones, they just happen. That's why those Israelites, they're just so blessed wherever they go, Jewish people, because it's unconditional. You ain't got to behave. Well, sometimes you got to behave, but it's still going to fall. So I was just going through this, and I was looking at it, and I was wondering, you know, God spoke this blessing upon Abraham. And the question is, why is it that he didn't speak it upon Sarah? He gave the covenant, he gave the blessing to Abraham. So it must be something to do with the male. Why is it that he chose the male and not the female in this situation? You know, I'm not trying to be chauvinistic. I'm not trying to say, oh, everything goes to the male. But in this instance, and a lot of other instances, God sent the initial blessing on the male. So what's the significance of this? You know, if the male is not in this place, maybe the blessings won't fall as they should fall, right? Maybe if the male is not in this place in his home, maybe that home will not be blessed as God intended. Not that the woman will not receive the blessing. For example, in my family's life, our household, you know, I love my dad. My dad was good to me. You know, I understand the situation, but my mother was thrust into leadership role. She was forced to be a leader, and the blessings fell. So it's just not upon the male or woman. As I go on, it has a significant role. So what is the reason? Now, these are just my ideas. I may be wrong. Why is it that God chose the blessings on the whole nation, the nation, to fall upon the male and not the female? Again, I'm not trying to be chauvinistic, but let's go to Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. Verse 2, I won't read it all, we'll be here all day. But anyway, it says the family tree, this is the one. Let me go back to let's just stay with the Message version. The family tree of Jesus Christ, David's son, Abraham's son. Abraham had Isaac, Isaac had Jacob, Jacob had Judah, and so on and so on. Until you get to the point where it ends with Jesus, Joseph. So what's so important about the blessings to fall upon the male? Because the male is the seed. You know, the male is the seed. Without that seed, you won't have generations. The blessings go to the male, and then it goes down the generations. And you know, that's such a responsibility. Not only does the blessing go through, but the curse can also go through. So the key, in my opinion, that he used the male is so that it can continue to flow. I mean, it seems to be his design. I could be wrong, but if you go through all those he begat, these are males, although you have Ruth and you have I forgot the other lady's name that was on Jericho. They were mothers, but the seed was able to carry that blessing throughout the generations. So seed equals generations. When I was in medical school, in our first year, we had several classes, but one of them was embryogenesis. That was the name of that class, is embryogenesis. And so what is embryogenesis? Well, it's the study of how the embryo is formed in the body. And I looked at that word this morning, and I never knew that Genesis was at the end of embryo. When I was looking at it this morning, it's Genesis. So what is embryogenesis? Again, it initiates when the sperm penetrates the egg. And that point is very important. So the sperm initiates the event. You know, you got the eggs all around, but if the sperm did not initiate the event, you could just have a sperm and an embryo. Someone or something has to initiate. And it's from the male that initiates the embryogenesis of the birth of that child. So even in the womb, leadership has to take place. In the womb, before they're born, the man has been called to be the lead in the womb to initiate this process. Initiation, leadership starts within the womb. Without leadership, there is no life. There's no life. No initiation, no birth, no child. You know, I don't want to use the word hate, but I used to hate that word leadership. Because I didn't want to be a leader, you know? Because with leadership comes accountability. So if I took the leadership role of this, they're going to look to me whether this works or does not work. So I didn't want leadership as a title because I was accountable. In the family, when the family is down and not doing well, you lost your home, no money, the children on the street, who do they look first to? They should look towards that man. When things go wrong in that family, most of the time, I'm not looking at the woman, I'm looking at that man. What happened? Why? Because even if you refuse to accept it, you were born with leadership from the womb. You have to take it. You have to take that leadership role. You were born to be a leader. Without taking the leadership role, the blessings will not flow. There is no birth without leadership. No birth in the church. Without leadership, how can you grow without an embryo? That's why there's no growth when you just have two eggs trying to grow. there is no growth. If there are just two sperms there. You're not going anywhere. That's death. That's death. How do you destroy a people? You try to get two eggs. You try to pass laws for two eggs. You try to pass laws for two sperms. You want to make sure there's an identity crisis when that child is born, that they don't know whether they're a sperm or an egg. When you have identity crisis from the womb, that's death. That's death. God knew what he was doing. And we try to put our hands into it and say it's right. And, I'm so glad we're not on Sister Yasser's not here. I was looking in the audience and praying, because if she was here, I would be on Facebook.
She's here on Zoom, she said.
She ain't got Facebook. So it's necessary. Leadership is necessary. Something that I did not want to attach myself with, but it's not. I can't help it now. It's necessary. And the man of Bethel is necessary. My wife started this prayer, I think, with the rain in the morning. Now all the elders are on the call. I think it's Wednesday. Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Or is it 6:30? 6 o'clock every Wednesday. I know because I be here. So how in the world are you on this call for 5 hours? What's going on? Every Wednesday. And it's like the backbone of Bethel has been the women. Although the pastor is definitely the lead in the head, and he's doing all he can to lead. But it seems like the backbone has been the women. But I think God is waking me up and waking other people up. And women are leaders too. I'm not against women leaders or women pastors or women ministers. I believe that's okay. But there's a role again for the males in this church. If we are to truly grow, we need to take the initiative. Take the initiative to start leadership. So what is the woman's role? I mean, if the male is the leader, women are leaders too, again. But leadership role in Genesis, where the blessings were passed down from Abraham, went to Isaac, and then, this is a great story that we read, Isaac was ready to pass these blessings down to the next child. And when he was ready, his eyes were dim. He knew the blessings meant everything. And the blessings usually go to the firstborn. He was ready to release this power or anointing that would change everything. Because blessings, if they're on your life, you're set apart. You're different. So he was ready. He had it all. It was like a football game. And Esau was running a post pack down towards him. That's when you would run towards the post. And Isaac went back to throw the ball, but then he rebelled. We're talking about me and all day long, but now Rebecca intervenes. Rebecca intervenes. And why did Rebecca intervene? I have to go to the next page. Genesis. Genesis. Let's read this real quickly. Why, in other words, Rebecca was planning for this moment. This just didn't happen. A thought came through her mind. Let me get my other son and bring him. let me get Jacob and take the blessings from Esau. No. This woman planned this. She strategized. She waited for this moment for years. And why did she wait? Well, it's in Genesis 26, verse 34, 35. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath, daughter of Elon the Hittite. They turned out to be thorns in the side of Isaac and Rebekah. Let me go to the next, another one in 27, the last verse in Genesis chapter 27, verse 46. It says, Rebekah spoke to Isaac, I'm sick to death of these Hittite women. And in the King James Version, I believe they are called the daughters of Heth. I'm sick of it. If Jacob also marries a native Hittite woman, why should I even leave? So what happened? Well, if you know the story, Abraham commanded his servant to find a wife for Isaac. Isaac to go to his people and to get Rebekah. And Rebekah, remember this. This man traveled all this long distance just to find a wife. Why didn't Isaac marry someone in Canaan? One of the Canaanites. Because Abraham knew that wife was key. Today, as leaders, men as leaders, women as leaders, who you marry is key. To the point it was so important, Rebekah said, I do not want my children, my grandchildren, resembling or acting like the daughters of Heth. I can't stand it, Isaac. I'm going to do something. She went in and robbed that thing. Robbed that woman. The power of that woman changed the course of, changed the course of that seed, changed the course of the generation. To have a woman, can't marry anybody. You can't have any woman. That's why, when I got married, I was, my family was in so disarray with that I wanted to marry the right person. I didn't find anyone in Bethel, but then I went to Springfield School. Then I met Dolly. I prayed, I studied, but she has been a blessing to my life. I wouldn't be a doctor if it wasn't for my wife. We wouldn't have what we have. Because I just didn't believe everything, but Dolly did. So she was key in my life. So one of the points is that woman is highly, don't put the woman down. No. That woman is highly important in your life if you are going to succeed. You need that right woman. Key. That's right. What was the other thing in this verse? I'm going to go to Genesis 27 real quick. 33. And so when Isaac realized that he did not give that power, that blessing that made a difference to Esau, but gave it to Jacob, he became troubled. He became troubled. And then Esau said, hearing his father's words, sobbed violently, most bitterly, and cried to his father, my father! Can you also bless me? Father, is there another blessing in you to give? There was no more significant blessing. There was another blessing, but he did say, in that blessing, you're going to have to serve your brother, Jacob, is there another blessing there for me? He cried, is there a blessing in you for me? So, what does it say? Two things. Sometimes there's a window of blessings. In your entire life, there may be just a small window. He had that window, but he missed it. As a man, there may be just an hour, a day, where that blessing will change not only your life, the decision you make to accept the blessing, not only will it affect you, but it affects your generation. You see, what you do does not just affect you. It may affect people 60 years, 100 years down the line. You say, well, this decision is all about me. It ain't about you. Not only will your family be affected, but the very church you go to can be affected by the simple decisions that you make. Thinking that it's about me, no, it's about your church. It's about your generation. It's about your community. What you do affects the community. What you do affects the community. Important decision-making as a man, the leader of your home, that has so many effects. So let me just kind of switch a little bit. So that man, the male is key, especially in the black race. The male is very, it's key in all races, but it's key. One reason I know that it's so important, I think it was 2 weeks ago, there was 60 bullets that hit me. 1, 2, 3, 66. And I hear they fired 90 times, and 60 of them hit him. Why 60? Why 60? Even the coroner said, when he looked at the body, he said, this is homicide. I mean, he already gave the verdict. You don't have to have an investigation. The coroner said, and he knew it was there were police who made the shots. He said, this is homicide. So why? When I read that, I heard about it on the news, I was just distraught. But I tried to analyze that a little bit. Whoever they were trying to get, it must have been important. For them to shoot him 60 times, they wanted him out. They wanted him out. He must have been important. And he was a black man. Miles Monroe said, the black man is the eye, or the eyes of the church. I don't know if you heard that message. The black man is the eyes of the church. Maybe they realized this guy was going to be a leader of his family. We got to cut him down. And so in life, a lot of us have had the beat down of jobs, in school. We walk in the room, all eyes are on us. They don't want to support you. They want to make sure you're fair. I think you have to, as a male or black male, you have to go into life knowing that people, you got a target on their back. And that's why you need Jesus, because you're different. You are different. Everybody don't have that type of target. Everybody don't have what you are, the eyes of the church. So there's going to be a certain target. When you come out of the house, people, your house is going to be aimed for. So don't be surprised if things start happening. And some of the things that happen, they want to incarcerate you to destroy. They don't want you to have businesses. And again, they don't want you to recognize that you are a man, but you're something else. That can destroy from being in a leadership role. And finally in my life, when I graduated from medical school, residency and fellowship, and I worked in Chicago for about 3 years. And then I went on my own. I went on my own because I wanted to have my own. I didn't want someone to take my practice or my leadership role from me. So that's one of the main reasons of my wife, my lovely wife, supported. But it forced me to work every weekend. That's why in the early days, it was rocking and rolling. I mean, working at starting at 7, sometimes getting home at 2 in the morning, because it was by myself every day, every weekend except for vacations. And the reason I did that, I didn't want to hire partners, because a lot of times, especially if you're a Black physician, they try to be certain as though you don't know what you're doing as far as business, handling money and all that stuff. So that's why I decided this to stay solo. And I want to just thank my wife for her support in that. So I'm basically ending by saying that our church will grow. I just want to encourage the men and encourage myself. Just one more thing, this men's fellowship that we have and how it started, just real quickly, how that I did not expect to be where we are today. Michael and I, we're basically the leaders. The other guys are very good leaders also. But I remember in Dr. Emerson's book, he said these racial reconciliation groups don't work unless you have a Black male as leader. And so we took the reins, and it's flourishing to my surprise. Things are working out, and it's because, I was just thinking, it's because of what the pastor here, Pastor Blockson, but also because of Pastor Claude Lewis. We're basically emulating what he did. You know, as a child, I watched him and Sister Lewis. We're not doing anything different. He gathered all the churches in Chicagoland Youth Fellowship. We're just gathering even more. We're going to the south side. I mean, I see it. We're going to the west side. We're going to wherever, McFadden. And we're doing the exact same thing that he did. And so what does that say? Is that same seed that Brother Lewis had passed along to us. And we need to pass it along to our children. Thank you, guys.